Zimbabwean leaders. Now the wrath of God is upon them. God's hand has risen against them. God is saying, Zimbabwe is my firstborn. God has heard the crying and the suffering of Zimbabweans, and now his hand is coming against the leaders. So God is saying, I have indeed seen the cries of my people, and Zimbabwe is my firstborn. So the hand of God has been released against the leaders of Zimbabwe. So we need to pray for the leaders of Zimbabwe, because a lot of things are going to happen. Things that have happened last time. Things that have never happened. You are going to see a lot of things that will be happening within and amongst and around the Zimbabwean leaders. So the hand of God is coming against them.
It is 9:30 p.m. Central African Time. You're watching The Globe on SABC News. I'm Simpian Ngwane. Good evening.
A very good evening to you, and I'm Mugabe. Thank you for joining us. Now on to our top story. U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday extended by 1 year sanctions against Zimbabwe.
Trump said the new Zimbabwe government's policies continue to pose an unusual and extraordinary threat to U.S. foreign policy. The renewal comes despite calls by African leaders, including South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa, for the sanctions to be lifted to give Harare a chance to recover from its economic crisis.
The first indications that the sanctions would remain in place came as early as February 12th, when the State Department issued a stinging rebuke of Zimbabwe's security forces, expressing serious concern about the excessive use of force against protesters, the use of violence against civil society, and restrictions on the internet, among others. In a letter to the leadership of both houses of Congress, President Donald Trump indicated that the executive order first imposing sanctions in 2003 with respect to actions and policies of the Zimbabwe government and persons who undermine democratic processes would continue beyond March 6th of this year.
Things that have happened last time.
Trump said Zimbabwe's election last July offered an opportunity for Zimbabwe to set itself on a new path and to implement reforms that could allow the United States to re-engage in ways not previously possible. He referred to the improved election process, but lamented post-election violence, credible reports of intimidation, and clear bias by the country's election commission that kept the poll from being fully free and fair. His letter said President Emerson Mnangagwa's administration had yet to implement a political and economic overhaul required to rebuild the country's reputation within the international community, reiterating the United States' position that the policies of the government continue to pose an unusual and extraordinary threat to the foreign policy of the United States. There are currently some 141 entities and individuals, including President Mnangagwa and former President Robert Mugabe, under U.S. sanction. Sherwin Bryceby's SABC News, New York.
So the hand of God has been released against the leaders of Zimbabwe. So we need to pray for the leaders of Zimbabwe, because a lot of things are going to happen.